Rennie Good was a gifted soul, a writer and a poet and a mother, wow. She tried to hit an agent with her car, oh no! Pop, motherfucker, now she's gone! Yeah, yeah, yeah! Being a fucking liberal is a mental disease. Blue-haired and fuckables with the septum ring. You are not a hero, you're a fucking disease! You fuck around and find out it's what it is! Jeffrey Pretty was a Jewish homo. Started talking shit to protect a chomo. He was getting nicked when he pulled a gun. Bam, motherfucker, now you're gone! Yeah, yeah, yeah! Being a fucking liberal is a mental disease. Blue-haired and fuckables with the septum ring. You are not a hero, you're a fucking disease! Fuck around and find out what that is!
Hey guys, welcome to the program. Do me a favor, will you please? Will you please like and share, subscribe to the program? Make sure you get my notifications. A lot of times we'll do broadcasts sometimes spontaneously. You might have one coming up in the next week. So you're going to want to make sure you get our notifications. We're going to be talking about gold, $40 million in gold. Yeah. With that said, let me get this out of the way real quick. This program, ironically, is brought to you by the fine folks at Goldco. And I'm telling you, digital money's coming. Here's all I'm asking you is to go to jovanlovesgold.com. Request your free gold and silver kit today, because now's the time to protect your money with gold and silver. This story is very interesting because it could have easily been your neighbor, and they had $40 million in gold bars in their home. Yeah, the story's kind of breaking and unfolding right now. But I'm going to tell you, it's not just about this one story. There may be something more sinister afoot. You're going to want to hang with me so you'll understand it. But just a little bit, you remember the troll that I allowed to pop onto the program the other day, Stan the pissed off man, or Stan the Joker? Did you see this guy? To yourself otherwise. What was this I was doing to kids, Stan?
Why you lie on them for Donald Trump?
No. What was this? Here's a very distinct question. I hope you're sober enough to understand it. You said you did stuff to kids. I want to know what I did to kids.
Prophet. You hold him down for Donald Trump to fuck, boy. And murder. And rape. You brought them from the Rio Grande to Gaza, to Lebanon, to Iran, to Epstein's, to Ukraine, and even disabled transgender kids driven to the #1 suicide rate among underage kids in America. God says they're innocent. You deny them medical care and you kill them, fat ass. You're a false prophet. You hold them kids down for an unrepentant Donald Trump. You fuck kids and murder them with Trump.
So, Stan, I'll give a test.
I don't take your test, boy. You're a false prophet, liar.
Boy,
playing your games.
Am I a boy?
Back up your child, Ray.
Am I a boy? Am I a boy? Stan, if you want to have a discussion,
you have anything else of substance?
If you want to have a discussion and not be taken as a fucking joke, have a discussion, Stanley. Okay, have a discussion, Stanley. Okay, so here's let's do this. Let's have a discussion.
Speak! Yeah, that's what I thought, boy. You got nothing.
Boy, no, I'm about to. Look, I understand yelling. I understand repeating because nothing gets discussed. Here's what I'm going to make a recommendation. Loosen your cock ring so the veins don't pop out of your head, and let's go over these one by one and do it by facts. Just one by one. That's all I'm asking. I'll give you the floor one by one. Let's go through the facts. Now, here's what I want to know. When was it? When was it I held down children for Donald Trump to fuck. When was
you
it?
voted for him again in 2020 and 24.
Is this about voting, or is this about when I held down kids for Trump to fuck? Which one do you want to talk about?
You signed that pledge in front of God, including the voter registry. You defied God for Trump.
Anyway, the reason I even subject you to that again is I have now found out Stan's story. And so done a lot of research, did it really quick. I want to let you know, I have invited Stan on. Now, I don't know if he's going to accept yet, but I kind of know Stan's background, right? And I told him, hey, come on, let's have a discussion. We don't even have to discuss politics. Let's just kind of have a discussion. Two dudes from fucked up families talking to each other. So I kind of know Stan's background now, and I think it could be an interesting conversation. Anyway, so I said, no politics. Let's just converse. Ooh, Fabra. Anyway, you think that's crazy? Wait till you see the story today, because this is a story that's just now breaking. A CIA agent has been arrested with $40 million in gold bars in his home. $40 million. Holy smokes. I'll give you a few minutes. Share this because you're going to want your family and friends to tune into this one. You got to hear this story, and you got to hear why this is probably more dangerous than you could ever imagine.
Do you have the #1 runaway bestseller as part of your homesteading library? Introducing the Food Forest Bible, How to Create a Food Forest, Sustainable, Self-Managing, Natural Food Production for Self-Sufficiency and Food Security. We all know the system is broken, but food, sovereignty, and survival are up to you. Will you comply or defy their plan for us all? You will own nothing, eat bugs, and be happy, or so the system says. Is this why America's largest food processing plants and food supply plants keep burning down? Do you really think this is a coincidence? Of course not. The system is telling us right to our faces what they have planned for us. You have a choice. Comply or simply defy their plan for us all. Defy the system's plan and execute your own plan. Abundant, safe, secure, natural food supply. Introducing the Food Forest Bible, this bestseller by Jovan Hutton Pulitzer is the single most complete, executable, easy-to-follow plan for sustainable, self-managing food production for self-sufficiency and food security. For the first time ever, a coffee table, heirloom quality, full-color book which unlocks the ancient secrets of creating a food forest. Imagine planting in a way which requires no digging, no pesticides, and creates massive ancient food abundance. No fooling. Food forests are the ancient secret to planning and planting once, and have your own Garden of Eden, which will feed your family for decade after decades. Buck the system. Buck the New World Order and order your very own copy of Jovan Hutton Pulitzer's Food Forest Bible.
Warning. The following program has been rated Dilligaff and is intended for open-minded audiences. If the truth offends you, or if you are allergic to focused intensity, intellectual athleticism, or the occasional F-bomb or even irreverent humor, please switch off now. If your delicate sensibilities need to be worried about or addressed, might we recommend the Underwater Basket Weaving channel to you? Otherwise, sit back, enjoy the wisdom, insight, and wicked sense of humor.
Cut the crap. How many times a day do you want to say that to politicians, the elite, the loony liberals, the fake news media? and the gender-confused, emotional socialist snowflake crowd. Cut the Crap is your secret weapon for fighting for our freedoms and our great republic. It all begins with a massive mental enema, freeing you from the toxic news and politically correct views, which constipate your consciousness with stinking thinking. Your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer. He's known for calling out politicians and telling them to cut the crap. You've seen him on virtually every television network and listened to him on Coast to Coast Radio. And now he's here to help you learn to fight for America. Culture, race, and American politics. They all have one thing in common. They all need to cut the crap. Now, here's your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer.
Okay, guys, this is a story that's actually breaking and evolving right here while we're all together. A CIA agent has been arrested in Virginia with $40 million in gold bars in his home. Just like always, I'm going to give you far more details than you're ever going to get in any news story. I went ahead and pulled up all of his records that I can get a hold of to give you information on this story, because something stinks a little bit, but there is something that worries me much greater than just the general telling of this story. Well, this guy's name is David Rush. He lives in Fairfax, Virginia. So what happened was an investigation was open. And when they basically raided his home, in his home, they found the following. Let me get the whole content. They found $40 million in gold bars, $2 million in cash, 35 gold Rolexes, a bunch of other high net worth watches, etc. Okay. But what's really interesting is, even though the government went to his home, raided his home, the charge they have charged him on is technically not related to either to the gold or the money that they actually seized at his home. Now, I want you to think about this for a moment. If you have the patience to stay with me, I'm going to reveal something that should be very concerning to you. And yes, 35 gold Rolex, 35 gold Rolexes. So first, I'm going to kind of start with his background so you'll understand his background. The charge, just so you understand the charge is at this very moment still pending a hearing, and he has been charged with misappropriation of public funds. Right? Misappropriation of public funds. And yes, the Rolexes are real. This should tell you a lot. Just so you understand, this is 303 individual gold bars. $303. About yay. 303 of them. $40 million. And so it's interesting that the story is really only coming out right now. But I want you to suspend for a moment. I'm going to give you this whole man's background. But I'm asking you to potentially suspend for a bit that this just happened to be a greedy or a conniving individual, okay? Because all they have charged him with is one singular count of theft of public money. Technically, embezzlement or conversion of government property. Now, that's pretty interesting. Now, they maybe did it as a place marker. Who knows? I do not know. He's made one very quick court appearance. He is in federal custody with the U.S. Marshals. There's supposedly going to be a hearing. This hearing is a detention hearing. And as I understand it, all they've done is asked for more time. Now, this tells me they're digging a little bit deeper into this particular act. Now, the question is, will this get out of hand, or will we really get the true story? It's going to get hairier. Just stay with me. So it may be delayed, and they're probably not going to rearrange this guy back up till probably June 5th, maybe sometime around there, because evidently there's more information coming out. Now, his attorney's not talking to anyone. And this was a joint CIA FBI arrest, just so you know. And it came from a CIA referral, which I'll explain in a moment. But first, let me kind of give you details. Do not make any assumptions. This guy was a CIA hire almost right after Obama went into office. Do not make any assumptions. You don't have all the story yet. Do not make any assumptions. But I'm telling you, something here stinks to all high heavens. Now, so he's basically been on the job for 17 years. And I know you're already going in chat, well, who in the hell will trust this guy with 303 gold bars? Hold on. I'm telling you, let this evolve so you can kind of soak in the true smooch of what this may be, because it's not just the gold bars, it's a massive amount of cash. And a common currency in intelligence operations is gold bars and, ironically, Rolexes, gold Rolexes, because there's the Rolex value and then there's always absolutely the meltdown value. So it's one of those things when they're paying off people and you don't want a money trail. Let me say that again. Paying off people and you don't want a traceable money trail. It's going to get better. Just hang on. Anyway, so he started right at the head of the Obama administration, and he rose all the way up to the SES, which is basically Senior Executive Service. So he rose all the way up to Senior Executive Service in his role. And that means he reached management level. He reached decision-making a level with a very specific type of top secret clearance. Now I'm gonna jump forward and give you something, because you're gonna need this, because I want you to kind of start thinking here. What are you seeing? There are in excess of 2.2 million people, right? In excess of 2.2 million people that in the United States currently that have basically CIA level security clearances. This particular fellow is in a classification where there are about 1 million people that fall within the classification, But his particular classification, we probably have 400,000 people in the United States that have that level of clearance. I'm giving you this piece because I'm going to want you to do some math, because he didn't steal the gold. He just wrote a requisition for it. Pay attention. He didn't steal the gold. He simply wrote a requisition for it. Now I'm going to give you some inside track here. Obviously, this fellow is in the section which is clandestine service. Clandestine service is where all of the nefarious stuff off the books, predominantly stuff, happens. Now, to put this into context for you, this is a very plausible reason why this guy at the senior level would have $2 million in cash, 40 million in gold, and 35 gold Rolexes, just so you understand. Typically, when you see this money handled this way, it is to, at this amount, it's not lower level stuff. It's to buy or bribe an official for something pretty damn serious, or to pay for something dearly that has to happen off of the books and can't be tracked back. Like having somebody killed. Like having somebody killed. You know, passing off a Rolex, you might pass off a Rolex to somebody inside an organization. Hey, I just need some information on what y'all are doing or whatever. This is not undercover work. This is clandestine work. That is completely different. Undercover is one thing. Clandestine is your spies, James Bond. Do not confuse clandestine service for undercover service, right? So this fellow, and I'm trying to determine, I don't have all the information yet from all I can get. Either he was heading up the logistics part of this. I'm waiting to get confirmation of that. And yes, Menendez got caught with gold bars. Or he's just high-ranking management clandestine service, which means basically he's an operative. Now, I'm putting a pin in that because I want you to understand this is $43 million sitting in a Virginia normal neighborhood home for one guy. And there are over 400,000 people that have the exact same clearance that can request things like this. I want you to think about that for a minute. Just so you understand, Fairfax, in my time in D.C., when I first came in, I was right there at the Pentagon. Then I went to Tyson's Corner because they were building a new facility there in Tyson's Corner. Then when I got the lay of the land, I got my home basically right there on the edge of Manassas until I finally got a place and got out in the country. Right where he would be in Fairfax. It's not too far from the highway, and you take a little cut, which was a highway, which is called Spout Run. It was cut for a general so he could cut right through the Potomac and get there, know the area well. So from a DC standpoint, forget the traffic. You're probably only talking 15 minutes out. This is a neighborhood of people that are employed in the service of the government, right? It's all government workers. Northern Virginia. So it's right there, right? But here's what I want you to think of first. This is not money technically that was stolen. This guy requisitioned it. Basically saying, I've got an operation. Here's what I'm going to need to complete this operation. This is one guy. This one singular individual. I already know it was requisitioned, etc. I need to complete this. Here's what I'm working on. Here's what I'm doing. Here's how much money I need. And it was handed over to him. This is what I really want you to think about. Because my belief that the government we had 20 years ago, 25 years ago, 30, 35 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago is not the same government we got once the Obama government came in and did things. And that's where remember, we used to be pissed that there was going to be a $50 billion appropriation bill. We used to be pissed. Now everyone's in the trillions because everybody's stealing. This is what I want you to understand. One single SES. One. And it's about 43 million bucks. One. And we got over 2 million people with security clearances. We've got easily right at 400,000 with this guy's clearance. That's what I'm concerned about. Okay? That's what I'm concerned about. Now, here's the kicker. Because this story just keeps getting juicier and juicier and juicier and juicier. This is like, and I'm telling you, my gut tells me something's going on. If you were staging an operation to take, you're never transferring this much at any one time. Transferring $1 million, yeah. Having 40 million in gold bars, that should be something that makes people's eyebrows go, what the? It didn't raise any red flags. That should concern you. So this guy attempted 3 times to get hired specifically by the CIA. 3 times. He specifically, there's 2 ways you get in the CIA. You apply for a job, which are usually lower level people, or you get recruited. And that recruitment, ironically, is a lot like NASCAR. You know, most NASCAR drivers started driving when they were 10. Most people don't know that. NASCAR, as it's bringing up drivers, they start on the little go-karts, and then they go to these, and then they go to this kart racing, then they go to this, and they bring them all the way up through the ranks until they get them to NASCAR. Why do I know that? I used to have a NASCAR team. I was amazed when I learned about NASCAR inside and out. Amazing sport, by the way. Amazing, right? And if you've ever been to a NASCAR race, you would think it's hillbillyism. You're wrong. You're wrong. I was wrong. When I got and met these drivers, and you understand the G-forces they're going against, turning one way nonstop, and the strength it takes. And you got kids, and they're kids. Some of them are really young, and they're looking at their cars, trying to figure it out. And all they can do is stick a little piece of tape on the car here, or a little piece of tape on the car here. Tape, duct tape. Why do they do that? Because they can feel the car dragging the wrong way, and they feel the physics of all that tonnage whacking them, and they know where to do it. It's amazing. And until you get down there in the pits and other stuff, and you feel the crush of them coming through at 165 miles an hour or whatever, and you feel the crush of that just magnificent power, you never understand until you do it, and then it's go, wow, I finally get it. So for the mechanics, the physics, the optics, everything for me, it was like quite a rush to really kind of learn all that stuff, right? Well, the CIA does the same thing. And if you were very young, gifted, and talented, you're going to get your ass recruited. It's the way it works. But this particular fellow, three different times, applied to the CIA and was denied. Now, I do not have all of his application dates. I don't. I'm going to try to get them. But immediately after Obama got in, he gets hired. I do not know his melanin content. I don't know. I've tried to find out if I could verify he was on the diversity hire list. I have not been able to verify that. I do not know. Don't make any assumptions. But right after Obama got in, this guy got approved. Now, he got approved because he had degrees from Clemson and from Rensselaer Polytech Institute, and had a military background, which had him in the Navy and being basically a high-end test pilot on special Navy testing equipment and aircraft. Okay? And I do have a booking photo. He's a white male, but when I say I don't know from a melanin standpoint, I don't know his bin, his mix, or anything. And he was let in, and he served 17 years. All bullshit and faked. All bullshit and faked. Now, this is where the story gets interesting. If I had the guy's paperwork for 3 submissions, the first thing I would start looking for is I would start looking for the differences in the submissions. I deal with this all the time. People claiming, well, I have this over here and I was peer reviewed, and there's really not a peer review process, or I was this over here and I have this degree in this, or I'm a systems engineer. All bullshit. All total bullshit. So what this guy did, the only thing that's absolutely known about this guy is he enlisted in the Navy in 1997. In the Navy, we're going to wear tiny uniforms. Anyway, he listed in the Navy, and I got a lot of buddies that are Navy jet jockeys. Don't worry about that. Anyway, he listed in the Navy in 1997, and he was an information systems technician. That's, Denise, you probably hit this on the head if people are watching Denise in chat. He was an IT specialist role. His particular specialty is communication networks and computer systems. That's his particular specialty. He served in the Navy from 1997 to 2004. In 2004, he went active duty. He went from active duty. He transferred over to the U.S. Navy Reserves. His entire tenure after that transfer is he was honorably discharged in 2015 as a lieutenant. Now you're going, wait a minute. He was working for the CIA in 2009. How the fuck did he get honorably discharged as a lieutenant in 2015? Okay. So this guy not only was not a test pilot, was not a pilot, period. Some of these people that claim to be systems engineers, as good as Google, whatever, Google, and I'm a pilot, took a small aircraft training course at an airport, took one lesson, and then stopped. Yeah, I tend to check these things out on people. They're a pilot. Took one flying lesson, which you don't fly the first time, when you go up with your instructor, and then never went back to the classes. But we'll tell you they're a pilot. And the biggest IT guy in the world, and a systems engineer. Anyway, not only was he not a pilot, he had nothing to do with aviation or weapon testing or leadership at all. None. Zero. Period. Somehow it didn't get caught at the CIA. Again, 3 times deliberate petition application to get hired by the CIA. That should have been a flag in the first place, because the very first thing they should have done is they should have, you're right, they should have looked at every one of the initial applications and compared them to each other. So something eased the way for this guy to get through. In the Navy, he was an IT technician. Think radio room, communications, maybe clandestine messages or whatever. Okay? This guy continued to falsify his military records for almost 2 decades. Now, forget the CIA part. This guy falsified his military records for almost 20 years. He got into the Navy with fake transcripts. Now, this is beginning to look like, wow, he's just a shyster or whatever. I don't know. That's why we're going to look at every potential option here with this guy, because this guy's a lot of unpacking, right? A lot of unpacking. Anyway, he basically falsified getting into the Navy. It's not stolen valor. That's different. He falsified his transcript records from school so he could get in the Navy, claiming that he had an undergraduate degree from Clemson University. That enabled him to parlay that to get commissioned as an ensign in the Navy reserves in 2004. Okay, so he got into the reserves in 2004. Then it went to higher levels. This guy claimed that he was a Navy pilot, claimed that he was a graduate of the U.S. Naval Pilot School, and that he was a graduate of the U.S. Air Force Test Pilot School. I got to call a friend of mine who used to run the Air Force pilot training and test pilot. He was tapped for NASA. He didn't take it at the time the shuttle blew up, but that shuttle explosion would have been on his watch. I'm glad he didn't take it. He used to be the big executive at Learjets and Gulfstream and stuff like that. But anyway, so I want to find out how could this even slip through. But this guy basically said that he was Maverick. Anyway, that he went to U.S. Naval Test Pilot School and that he went to U.S. Air Force Test Pilot School. He said he was not only a test pilot, but he was a director of test for pilots, and he was heading up a testing project, which was a joint operation between the Army Navy Weapons Test Organization, which basically involves about 145 people, and they're testing out at any one time about 18 aircraft, right? Again, I have people in that. One of my dearest friends, she lost her husband this way. He was one of the test pilots, and that test out these new things for our country. You never hear about them. They're unsung heroes. They can't get medals or whatever. And in testing one of these aircrafts, he lost his life. Right? Anyway, and by the way, a lot of CIA comes out of Clemson. Anyway, and so what he did was everything I just told you, all bullshit. Part of it just his own word of mouth. I'm a system architect. I'm second only to Google. I met with Office of Information Intel, and I met with all these guys, and they asked me what I thought of, that kind of shit. While he is in the CIA, he continues to fake his reserve records, and I'm sure they kind of let him pass because he works for the CIA. He billed the Navy Reserve 744 hours while working at the CIA. It's about $77,000 of embezzlement. So you're probably asking, what the fuck? Who vetted this guy? All of it, except that he did get into the Navy, but he used bullshit to get into the Navy. It is the same thing that happens into election integrity circles. I met with Vince Pompeo and Mike Pompeo and this and this and this, and I did this, and I debriefed the NASA guys, and I debriefed. All bullshit. All total bullshit. But this is at the CIA. And he was able to pull this off for 17 years, from 2009 to this year right now. No degrees, no certifications, not a pilot, not test pilot claims, nothing. Not a thing. So we either have to accept nobody bothered to look, or he was real good. This happens in the election integrity effort. I call it out every time I see it. Every time I see that stuff in election, I sat down and I debriefed the NASA folks, and I debriefed Mike Pompeo, and I debriefed the ODNI, and I read this. They all looked at my stuff and said, "Oh boy, you're right." All lies. But yet, even in the circles of election integrity, that gets promoted as a resume. Why? You talk to somebody who at one time was on a team that contracted for NASA. They were one of the subcontractors. They looked at it and said, "Oh, yeah, it looks like a raccoon to me. I think this is good." All of this embellishment circle. Well, this guy is in this embellishment circle. Now that happens. This one embellishment circle I'm telling you about right now in election integrity, that fellow's running to be the head of the GOP election integrity for Colorado. And all of that stuff is bullshit. But because people keep promoting it, and people keep on saying it and people keep propping it up, nobody checks backgrounds, nobody checks credentials. Okay, tell me who you debriefed at NASA. Nobody does it. That person may very well end up running election integrity for Colorado. Now, I want you to think about that for a minute. That's relatively minor compared to what we're talking about today. But one of the common trends in this stuff is the bigger the claims, the bigger the bullshit. The first claim was, I infiltrated an Antifa call. All the way, I personally debriefed Mike Pompeo in the office, ODNI, the intelligence office, and this. And I was on the red team. And it's all shit. It's all bullshit. Well, it's the same bullshit that you got to try to figure out. Am I looking at an agency trained guy to do this or what? Because it's all about words bullshit. Or am I looking at somebody that is actually just an operative? Well, this guy can easily look like, well, he's just a fraudster when you look at this guy's record. But then you have to question yourself, how was it never caught? See, you can't fake being an IT communications specialist. You can razzmatazz people and say, yeah, I'm a system engineer and I design systems. There is no such thing as a system engineer. But see, people don't check those things. So you can fumble your way through it, but how do you fumble your way through it and stay in the military and stay employed? So we got to ask a few questions. In the procurement of people to work in our government and clandestine services and stuff, do they not just check resumes of people that apply? A whole part of the business of people that are recruited. That's different. They've sought you out. They know your background. They're going to you because of your background, because of your abilities. That's different. So how does somebody weasel the way into their system? Who did the BI? Who did the investigation? Whose names are on these documents? Whose recommendations or endorsements, BI, not BJ, BI, background information? Who spoke for this guy? Because here's the issue. This guy moved up through the ranks, and somehow he's only either one of two things, and I'm still trying to vet what he is. He either got at the executive level of logistics. You're putting in a request for weapons because you're going to do a deal with gang members to get information. Yeah, they'll fucking give them weapons. These things get seized, they get sent in. They'll recycle weapons right back out in the street to get information. Of course that happens. So he was either sitting at some sort of director level of logistics, or because it falls under the clandestine part of it, he was an asset running operations on the ground. Now, the reason I ask that is because he didn't walk into a vault and steal this stuff. He wrote out a request and said, I need this for an operation. Now, this is where you should really be concerned about this. This is where you should be seriously concerned about this. Somewhere, somehow, somebody thought, and I'm going to tell you how I got busted. somewhere, somehow, somebody thought this guy, let's just assume he was truly, he's the executive level because he was SES, but that he was truly a field operative running an op. To run an op where he could even request $2 million in cash, $2 million in cash is not a lot for an operation, but to get $40 million in gold, the untrackable assets part of it, he literally basically said, this is how it would go. I don't know for sure. Here it is. I'm going to go compromise this executive in Colorado, and we're going to get them to turn the other way, or I'm going to get this person to do this so we can infiltrate this. And I'm, requesting 50 gold bars and whatever. They approach somebody. Here's what we need you to do. Just go along with it. You're just going to do this, and then you're going to just claim it. And they open the bag, and here's a wad of cash, or here's a gold bar. This is yours. Do you follow what I'm saying? That's how all this works. That's how every bit of it works. But if a person would be able to request and take $40 million in gold bars, 303 gold bars, $2 million in cash, 35 gold Rolexes. When you have hundreds of thousands of people at the same clearance level that can make similar requests, what do you think's possibly happened inside our clandestine services? Because obviously you kind of think, well, $40 million, they'll never miss it. If that is the case, and we got 400,000 people in this classification, hell, even if you had 100,000 people in that classification, do the math. Now you see why we may be having to do government requests for $1 trillion bills and stuff like that. See, all of this money is on the books somewhere. And this is how it falls off the books. If one lone individual, who we now know was a sack of shit, which I believe somebody had to be covering for to even get that long and stay in that long. You can't fake that long. Think about how much has been pilfered in the name of operations. I got to get information. I got to pay somebody off or whatever. What would that math be? Somebody do the math real quick for me. Let's just do shits and giggles. $40 million bucks. And let's say that 10,000 people out of 400,000 people did the same thing. Is that 400 billion? Somebody do the math for me. Just put it in chat. Where'd the gold come from? It's got to be on a ledger somewhere. Now, you have to understand a few things. When there are agency things like seizing stuff, that goes into this kitty. Hey, did you hear about the guy the other day? Yeah, 400 billion. Did you hear about the guy the other day found several $1 million washed up on the beach of drug money? Probably from one of these boats they blew up. Turned it in, whatever. But you're no good at polynomial math. Let's find somebody who can do this 6th degree. It's so hard to figure out. Is it 4 trillion or 400 billion? Is it 4 trillion or 400 billion? Help me out. But I want you to think about this for a moment. Because where there's one, there's many. Where there's one, there's many. Even if he pilfered this over 17 years, and by the way, he wouldn't be able to do it over the whole 17 years. He wouldn't have been at the classification level to do it. This is my bigger thing. To me, something was being staged. The guy who found the money in the beach, it's finders keepers law. He turns it in. If it can't be claimed in 90 days, it's his. So technically he did the right thing. He turned it in, which will make it legally his. If he just took it and didn't report it, it would be harder. But I want you to think about this for a minute. I'm going to say out of 17 years, he probably only got into the position he could requisition big money 7, 8, 9, 10 years into it. So even if for 10 years he could do it, the aggregate rate would be $4 million a year. This is either a hole in our system, or we got a network in the CIA that's drawing out these gold bars and drawing out this cash. And that's how you're watching a lot of these Patriot Force and all this other shit show up, or somebody take the risk to take a shot at a president. See, this is the type of money somebody would be paid, and in the exact method somebody would be paid to take out a high official. You're not going to drop some schlub, here's $100,000, go take a shot at the president. You might have somebody take a shot from outside, like just happened. They might do that. Oh, they'll just call you stupid, and you'll go to, anywhere, and they'll get you off because the president really wasn't there. And they do that for political purposes. But this is the type of money that you would effectively orchestrate a hit with. That's what concerns me. Now, here's what happened. Since President Trump came back in, and yeah, just think about how many media propaganda and shit that would pay for. You would say, aren't the gold bars numbered? Don't know. It's not required. We don't know if these are standard issue or just happen to be in those sizes. If it's on the dark side, there's none. But we've already found lawmakers, they've run seizures in their homes, and what's the common denominator they find of these guys? Gold bars. Anyway, okay. So what happened is, as Trump came back in, and they started really looking deeper to drain the swamp, and you've seen how many people that are not going to be back in the swamp now, for sure. The list is getting bigger and bigger. This guy got flagged because of work-related expenses. Nobody knew the gold was missing. Well, that's my first issue. He got flagged for something lesser that kind of put him on radar. But when they got to looking at the guy, they found out the guy. Now, here's what's not reported. Now, I want you to pay attention. Put it in chat. What did I tell you they found in his home? What did I tell you he found at his home? What was the list of goodies they found at the home? 35 Rolexes, $2 million in cash, and 303 gold bars worth $40 million. What he got flagged on is he also had been requesting millions of dollars in foreign currency. Now, that one little tidbit that I withheld to now should tell you this guy is absolutely in the clandestine part of it. And the countries, which I'm still trying to get, I do not have, will tell you a lot about what's going on. He got flagged on requesting foreign currency. And by the way, as the story looks right now, he's requesting the gold bars in multi-tens of $1 million increments at a time, and that they were needed for official field operations. This is why I'm trying to figure out. He's either somehow got to the director level and he's approving this himself, right? Most of the stuff this guy had been requesting over all these years can't be accounted for. They found a little bit in a storage space near his office. That's all they're releasing at the moment. They found a little bit. And so they're going through storage records. They're going through etc. But nobody thought to check his 3 previous applications together. Now, let me tell you why this is important. One of the things the Trump organization did is requires recertification of your security clearance. Like when I was at Mar-a-Lago, Secret Service is all over me, know everything about me, who I am, where you got to pass all of that. You're not going to sit right there, right, across the desk from the President of the United States if you're a bad guy. It's just not going to happen, right? So I understand all of this. But here's the deal. Trump has initiated, as part of this, people have to re-security clearance. Before, a lot of these re-ups weren't done. Once you got your clearance, you always had your clearance. That's why somebody can leave government like John Brennan. And they keep their clearance. See, here's the dirty little secret you don't know. When these guys like John Brennan and they cycle out and they've got high security clearances, they keep them. They are entitled to see every brief, every debrief, every memo, everything. They know everything that's going on a country by country basis. They leave with that. They still get those reports, and they leave and they start consulting inside large corporations and stuff. Except we don't call that a security leak. Let me repeat that again. When they leave with their security clearances. It basically makes these guys worth millions every single year for the rest of their life because they have security clearances. But because they're cleared to hear it, and we just assume they're all patriots, it's not considered a leak. Did you know that little bit? I'm one, when you cycle out, you're fucking out. Oh, yeah, if you're going to go into the consulting business and you're going to consult in aerospace or Boeing, then you're going to requalify and you're only going to get security information that's relevant that you might for Boeing. It's your security clearance should be revoked. Well, part of this revoking of security clearance, which President Trump did with all of these people that signed that 51 security information, said it was Russia hacked, which we covered this in our book, Countdown to Chaos. One of the things President did is revoke all those. And in that revocation process that's been going on, a lot of these people are having to requalify or re-go through the process. And that's how this guy was tagged. If those two things wouldn't have happened, he's going back through the process of re-security clearance, right? And they look at these things and go, wait a minute, and then they start looking deeper. It made them look at his personnel files, which they should have been doing. Should have been reviewed every single year. but it's not. So the original warrant for this was executed on May 18th, Fairfax County, Virginia. He was arrested the next day. But I'm trying to figure out why there's only one criminal complaint pending, and how it happened is the FBI investigated and found something that the agent swore a jurat and a testament that we think this is bad and is probable cause, and we don't think these assets can be accounted for. And that's how this whole thing broke open. So in wrapping this up, who the fuck's checking people's backgrounds? That's number one. A lot of people that have been arrested for serialized crimes and serialized murders have a pattern of trying to constantly apply to be law enforcement. People know this stuff, right? People know this stuff. So I'm trying to figure out just the fact that he was an applicant, not a recruit, an applicant, should kind of throw this up. Now, CIA works in many ways. Somebody's an influencer. They'll go tap an influencer, say, we need you to serve your country. This is important. We're doing this operation. And everybody thinks they're getting their James Bond on. And so, oh, okay, I'll help. I'll do this. I'll help. Or people that appear on TV a lot, they'll get recruited in. Writers, famous publishers, famous book writers, rock stars, concerts, rock stars, all the time. Because it's access. Right? But again, that's the recruitment side of the business. Is this an applicant side of the business? So how did he make it on his third try? And all he did was add another fake degree in between, from what we understand at the moment, between 2 and 1. I want to see him. I would really like to look at the differences in his applications and see what I can learn, right? But here's another kicker. In a certain level of classification, not the highest, but when you're coming up in the ranks, you're going to do your reclassification for your SCI. You're going to do that every 5 years. How was it never caught? Even if that was done at the lower levels, let's say they forgot it by the time he got high enough, but that would have been done 2, maybe 3 times. How did that not happen? How did nobody pick up the phone and say, hey, this guy claims to be a thesis advisor at the Air Force Institute of Technology? Who came out of the Air Force Institute of Technology? Oh, yeah, Colonel Sean Smith. But basically claiming they were a thesis advisor. All bullshit. I actually think there should be a continuing vetting process. There should be. They look for things like, is somebody bankrupt? Because somebody bankrupt is susceptible to being bribed. And then there's people that look bankrupt and you're never going to pass a credit file, and they're doing that because you're making sure they're not discoverable and they're not attachable, meaning I'm going to go after you, I'm going to sue you, I'm going to get your house. So there's both sides to all this, but where was the vetting in this? Where was the vetting in this? Who relied on it? What is this guy? Now, let's just say this is a bad guy. Let's just say he could pull off something like, I was on an Antifa call. I mean, just the goodest bullshit talker there was. This guy should be studied. because where there's one, there's others. You can't say you have all this technology knowledge. You can't make all these claims without the tech industry knowing who you are, somebody seeing your work product, somebody seeing your existence, let's say in the tech industry, or this guy's in the information industry, there would be a verifiable instance. But there wasn't. Who was doing this? Who was doing this? He rose to the executive service. Senior executive service. You only go to director next. So I'm trying to find his direct report, and his 2 levels up. I don't have it. That will tell me a lot. He's going to report to a director or a deputy director within his classification, right? And so from this level, this guy's only going to have a director, a deputy director, an associate deputy director. That's all this guy's going to have above him. And that's a little too close to the top for me. Now, granted, if you're letting somebody on the sly steal money out of the system and you're stealing it at a clip like this, then you could have somebody at a much higher level process, right? Maybe they were clipping a coupon with them. Well, you got to check into that. And who said that? Slavich said, doesn't make sense. I think he was caught in first level application process and then he was recruited. He could have been, who knows? He could have been flagged. So let's run that trap. Let's say the second time this guy did his application, somebody caught it. Well, they're gonna go interview this guy. What's your intent? What's going on? They're not going to let it go. You're not going to get a, sorry, we don't need you. They're going to go, because now he's got 2 attempts. First attempt, don't qualify. You're not going to get anything. No. But when you get a second attempt, you got to run that trap too. And you're right. You got a second attempt and he did it. And somebody looks at these patterns and go, we got a guy here who's kind of a cheaty cheat. You could have somebody bad that goes, okay, here's what we're going to do. You're going to make this change here. You're going to do this change here. We'll get you in. But here's what we're really going to have you do. And then the third time's a charm. Which means they would have known he was pre-compromised. They put him in a cush position, which is the way they could control him. The worst part of it all, he is somewhere in covert operational support. He is somewhere within resource management for the entire clandestine activities. That should concern everyone. And his whole background is bullshit. His whole background is bullshit. If you were to take confidential, you're going to get debriefed on confidential stuff. You're going to get debriefed on secret stuff. You're going to get debriefed on top secret stuff. Now, those are the various, there's levels in all of them, but I'm just giving you, this is confidential. This is secret. This is top secret. How many people in the United States do you think we have that have clearances from that end to this end? So you're able to see confidential stuff that most people aren't going to see. You're going to be able to see secret stuff that most people aren't going to see, and you're going to be able to see top secret stuff. And those three categories, if I combine them together, how many do you think? And this would basically include anybody in the intelligence community, CIA, NSA, DIA, all this other stuff, right? How many people do you think we have that need to be looked at? 5.1 million people. Do you think any bad ones slip through? If I throw together those classifications, 5.1 million people. This story, at its lowest level, is a nightmare of Doge and stuff and how the system hides and rapes money. At its highest level, tells me we got a fuckload of untraceable money floating out there that could be used to pull off anything they want, including taking out a president. Now you see why I'm concerned. This is a big deal. This is not small. But I am concerned. There's only one charge, but hang on. Maybe they're going to do this one right. But I tell you what I want to know. I want to know his two-ups and his directors and deputy directors. I want to know who the fuck it was. I want to know who signed this guy in. I want to know what was the foreign currency. I want to know how many gold bars were he taking out at a time. I want to know how we're tracking that inventory. I want to know how many people in our clandestine services have non-trackable, fungible assets in their possession, and we're supposed to think it get used in operations. I want to see the fucking paper. I want to know how many people haven't had their clearances revetted and restaked. I want to see red flags. They're flagging you if you deposit more than $600 in your account. How fucking ironic is that? You deposit more than $600 cash at any time in your account, you're flagged. Banks are now saying, you walk in, say, I want to buy a car. I'm going to go buy a car, and you want to take out like 10 grand. You're going to buy an old pickup or something. They can actually now say, well, we don't believe that's the real purpose, and they can deny you. Did you know that? Something's horribly wrong. This one, for me, folks, is a tip of an iceberg that I think is that so hard has to be run down and not swept under the carpet. Because if it's just a guy who squeaked through, it's going to teach us where the cracks are, and we're going to be able to track them all. If it's intentionally supplanting bad guys in elevation, we're going to learn a name somewhere in it in the process. We're going to see who put their name on this guy, and we're going to be able to track who started that, and we're going to see how many fucking people they put in. Everything here is trackable, folks. The problem I have is the same thing with Doge, finding 12 million people on Social Security getting checks, and it's just kind of disappeared. Those fucking checks got deposited, folks. They're not telling you the rest of the story. And when they got deposited, that means there are people, accounts, and places tied to them, and you're not hearing shit about it. It also means you can take those from the Social Security, you can run them against the voter rolls, you can find and vet all those, and you have more than enough cause to shut off our entire fucking voter rolls, but that hasn't been done. This is the tip of the iceberg. I hope everybody pushes to get it followed, but this is big. This really is. This is big, and we got to fed it out. Share this program. Hope it was informative. Let's watch this roll out, and let's hope it doesn't disappear.
Rennie Good was a gifted soul, a writer and a poet and a mother. Wow, she tried to hit an agent with her car. Oh no. now she's gone. Being a fucking liberal is a mental disease. Blue-haired unfuckables with the septum ring. You are not a hero, you're a fucking disease. You fuck around and find out it's what it is. Jeffrey Pretty was a Jewish homo. Started talking shit to protect a chomo. He was getting nicked when he pulled a gun. Bam, motherfucker, now you're gone. Being a fucking liberal is a mental disease. Blue-haired unfuckables with a septum ring. You are not a hero, you're a fucking disease. Fuck around and find out what that is.
What up, America? It's Andrew Jackson, that guy you roll up to hit some powder. I founded the Democrat Party and chose the jackass as our mascot. Now, as you can probably tell, times have changed a bit from the party back in my day, and present-day Democrats will come to hate me, but that's your problem. Jackson started the Democrat Party to appeal to the common man. Democrats today sometimes give him credit for that, but only after calling him an evil white bigot. Needless to say, the party started off pretty sketchy by today's standards. We were by far the pro-slavery party all the way through the Civil War.
After the war, we cleaned up our act and supported the North's Reconstruction efforts. Totally kidding, we doubled down on racism and became the party of the Klan. But seriously, we didn't have much of a platform after the war, except Jim Crow, but that was until our boy came in hot on his rollerblades.
Then came the Depression. People lost trust in markets, so I wheeled in to drastically expand communism across the country, and Democrats been hooked ever since. Up until this point, blacks had always voted Republican as they were the party that freed the slaves. But after FDR's New Deal, blacks swung 75% Democrat. This was a complete realignment, not because of civil rights, but because of economics. All while the Democrats were still the party of the Klan, and their stronghold was the South. We pushed segregation throughout the South and filibustered the 1964 Civil Rights Act for 75 days. It wasn't until Republicans stepped up and found even more votes to pass the bill. So ask yourself, how are Democrats seen as the party of the civil rights? Well, it's because
Democrats are very persuasive. But again, it ultimately boils down to economic incentives. Once Democrats realize the power of government spending and handouts, you can appeal to any voter group and lock them in.
1, 2, 3.
Gays for Palestine.
Good luck with that.
So anyway, to sum it all up, my party has changed a shit ton, but it's not because of the mythical party switch. Democrats controlled the South all the way through the 1990s. But they did adopt new policies like massive social spending and welfare programs that allowed them to appeal to more diverse voting groups.
Do you have your very own copy of the Make Life Easier book series titled No Dig Gardening yet? No Dig Gardening, Cultivating Abundance the Natural Way is a groundbreaking guide for those seeking a sustainable, low-maintenance, and highly productive approach to gardening. This book introduces readers to the revolutionary no-dig gardening method, a technique that eliminates traditional tilling and digging in favor of building layers of organic matter directly on the soil. By adopting this method, gardeners can enhance soil health, reduce weed growth, conserve water, and save time and energy, all while supporting biodiversity and preventing soil erosion. Designed for anyone passionate about self-sustainability and organic living, this guide offers a step-by-step process to create a thriving no-dig garden. From selecting the perfect site to layering cardboard, compost, and mulch, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer provides clear instructions and expert insights to help readers transition to this eco-friendly practice. The book also delves into the science behind soil health, emphasizing the role of beneficial organisms like earthworms, fungi, and microbes in enriching the soil and boosting plant growth. Whether you're a seasoned gardener or a beginner, no-dig gardening equips you with the knowledge and inspiration to cultivate a garden that nourishes both the earth and your well-being. Embrace a life of abundance, freedom, and harmony with nature through this transformative gardening method. Take the best easy and, some say lazy, way to gardening. Get your copy of No Dig Gardening today.
protection. You love to read and learn, travel and explore. You're a fearless, brave-heart patriot who's opened doors. You are courage, you're our voice. Jovan, we thank you for what you're fighting for. You're our warrior. You are brave like a lion. You're David fighting Goliath, couldn't ask for more. You're our warrior. Think of what you've done for you, for me, for our country. You'll go down in history as our warrior. You lead by God and always do what's right. In the battle for our nation, you lead the fight. We pray for your safety, the armor of God to protect you from all of us. Here's a thank you for all that you do. You are courage, you're our voice. Jovan, we thank you for what you're fighting for. You're our warrior. You are brave like a lion. You're David fighting Goliath, couldn't ask for more. You're our warrior. Think of what you've done for you, for me, for our country. You'll go down in history as our warrior. Jovan, you're a hero we stand behind. We're inspired by the fire inside your eyes. American proud, we know you'll fight till your dying day. And we'll always stand behind you through everything. You are courage, you're our voice. Jovan, we thank you for what you're fighting for. You're our warrior. You are brave like a lion. You're David fighting Goliath, couldn't ask for more. You're our warrior. Think of what you've done for you, for me, for our country. You'll go down in history as our warrior.